On February 26, 2001, a seemingly insignificant event took place in the world of football. Jürgen Klopp, a little-known player from the German club Mainz, announced his retirement from professional football. At the time, it barely registered as news. Why would it? Klopp was not a superstar, not a top scorer, not even a standout defender. He was, by all accounts, a journeyman who had spent his entire playing career at Mainz, a second-division side with little fanfare. But sometimes, the stories that begin in the margins grow to define the very heart of the game. The real story, as hindsight would reveal, took shape the very next day. On February 27, 2001, the Mainz board announced that Jürgen Klopp, the same player who had hung up his boots only yesterday, would take over as interim head coach for the remainder of the season. Mainz was in freefall, languishing in the relegation zone with their third manager of the season just sacked. It was a desperate move, born less of confidence than resignation. If they were going down anyway, why not hand the reins to a man who knew the club inside out, who had earned the trust and affection of supporters and players alike? Klopp was 33, with no prior managerial experience. He didn't have a grand vision or even a clear plan. He'd barely had time to process the end of his playing days before being thrust into leadership. In his first press conference, Klopp realized with a jolt that he was now expected to have all the answers. The simplicity of a player's life, train, play, eat, repeat, was gone, replaced by the relentless, all-consuming demands of management. But despite his nerves, his inexperience, and the weight of expectation, Klopp's Mainz side won 6 of their last 7 matches, pulling off an improbable escape from relegation. The club finished 14th, and what had seemed like a doomed campaign ended in unexpected triumph. What happened in those transformative weeks went beyond tactics or luck. Klopp had discovered, almost by accident, his unique gift, the ability to connect, to communicate, to inspire. He spoke openly with his players, not just about formations and instructions, but about their own thoughts and feelings. In the tight-knit city of Mainz, he extended that connection to the fans, inviting them into the club's inner world, making them part of the journey. That sense of shared purpose, that emotional bond, doubled the effort of his players and the passion of the supporters. Klopp had found his calling, not as a star on the pitch, but as a leader who could galvanize an entire community. After saving Mainz from relegation, Klopp was offered another year at the helm. Expectations remained low. Surely, the previous season's miracle was a fluke, a burst of adrenaline unlikely to be repeated. But for Klopp, it was a moment of revelation. He realized that, while he may have been an unremarkable player, he had the makings of an extraordinary coach. For the first time, he understood what his late father had always hoped for him, not necessarily glory on the field, but fulfillment, purpose, and a chance to inspire others. Klopp's career as a player was modest, 56 goals in about 350 matches, mostly as a forward before being moved to defense in his later years. Yet, it was his father's unwavering belief that kept him going, even after setbacks. Sadly, his father passed away just 4 months before Klopp's retirement, never seeing his son's first steps as a manager. That loss, poignant and profound, drove Klopp to make the most of his new opportunity. In his first full season as manager, Klopp began to shape Mainz in his own image. He introduced a style of play that would later become his hallmark: relentless pressing, high energy, and a collective spirit that compensated for any lack of individual brilliance. There were no superstars at Mainz, no big budgets or lofty ambitions. But that was precisely what made it the perfect training ground for a rookie coach. The pressure was low, the expectations modest, and Klopp was free to experiment, to learn, to fail, and try again. He paid close attention to the younger players, remembering the support he'd wished for as a young man. Slowly, he built not just a team, but a sense of hope,